every year in October. It's like what is today? Thursday, the third Thursday of October, or whatever this is. The U.S. has a drill called the Great American Shakeout, and each state has its own drill called, in my case, the Great California Shakeout. And what it's about is earthquake awareness and earthquake preparedness. And having grown up in Southern California here, earthquakes are just kind of a force of nature. They're something that we deal with all the time. And I can't. So I'm sitting in the view of one of my security cameras right now, and it is sending alerts that it's seeing motion. So pardon me while I turn that off for a little while so that the phone's not beeping and clicking every few seconds when I move. Okay. First, thanks everybody for coming and checking out the scope. If you're in arrears, thanks for checking it out, and I hope that there's some information here that'll help you and or someone in your family in the future. If you're watching this live, great. If you have any questions or comments, join on in and let me know. What I'm gonna check out this HAPS platform is a little funky for me. So yeah, we didn't just have an earthquake, but we just had the Great California Shakeout, and that happened at 10:30, and my cell phone and my iPad and everything lit up with messages, earthquake, earthquake. This is just a drill, kind of like I did with the title for this thing here, and it got me to reminded me about something that I wanted to do for a while, and that is just a quick earthquake preparedness scope. I still call these scopes because I used Periscope and it was actually a pretty good platform. But to do a stream on earthquake preparedness, I used to teach for the Community Emergency Response Team program, the CERT program, certified through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And I've done. I'm a first responder, and I did training here in Southern California at a local university for about 10 years. I co-developed and taught the emergency response team program there. I don't know, several hundred or 1,000 people who were mostly staff, faculty, and some students from the university. I've also done emergency response and responded after, for instance, after Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. I was in the South for a while, quite a while. Flew back there and did some emergency relief work, and I learned a lot about systems and how things work. And basically, the bottom line is, you really should prepare for yourselves and your family, and take care of yourself and your family first, because it's not too bright to sit back and expect the government to step in and help you out, really at all, if especially right away. There's usually a governmental reaction and some kind of support for some very short period of time, and then it falls off while everything falls apart in the background, and contracts are renegotiated, and stuff like that. So the bottom line is, for a while, if you're in an earthquake, and if it's a small earthquake like we have all the time in Southern California here, you learn to just kind of live with those and roll with the punches, as it were. If you've never been in an earthquake, I've had visitors from out of the state or out of the country when we've had small earthquakes, and they can be pretty stressful, and they can happen anywhere. They don't just happen in Southern California. They happen in other places of the country. There's everybody knows about the San Andreas Fault here that runs through California. There have been movies made about it, famously, and there are other faults in the U.S. that are really significantly strong like that. There's one called the new Madrid Fault, and it's back east. I want to say it runs through like St. Louis area. I should probably look that up real quick just so that I'm accurate because it kind of blows people away. Um, it's spelled like Madrid, Spain. Run through Missouri. The new Madrid Fault, it's called. It runs right through Missouri, and yeah, in 1811, 1812, there were some giant earthquakes there. And that fault is still there and it's built up. And they say that that thing's going to let it rip at some point here before too long. Let's see if I can find a quick map showing the area. You can look it up yourself. New Madrid, Madrid. Um, that's another real big one that I know about in the U.S. that has the potential of real extreme action. So, what do we do for earthquakes? I mean, basically, what I wanted to do this for was to talk to you a little bit about how to prepare for earthquakes and other natural disasters that might happen. In California, we also have wildfires. It's a big natural disaster problem. And as the temperature of the globe goes up, these wildfires are increasing. Well, what's happening there is, as we learned in school, near the equator, that's the closest part of the Earth. It's to the sun all the time, and it's always warmer at the equator than it is at the poles, right? Where the Earth is fat, it's closer to the sun, and it's warmer. Everybody knows that. Well, what we have a problem kind of interpolating is here in Southern California, we've had temperatures over the last couple of years of like a week of 112 to 117 degrees. It's unheard of. I've fourth generation native Californian. We have heat and warmth, and we have nice days and hot days. We don't have over 100 degrees for a week, and we've had that for the last, couple of years out of the last several years. It's been happening more and more often. And what we don't think about, or what that kind of makes me think about, is relate to people who live closer to the equator and where they did have 100-degree weeks, as I was growing up. Now they have 120-degree weeks, right? Now they have temperatures so hot for a while that things can't grow anymore. And, people, famously act uh, worse to one another, treat each other worse when they're hot and angry. Um, you know, the police know that in when there's heat waves in cities in the Midwest, what have you, crime goes up, people get angry, and so what I'm getting at is the middle of the world right now is hotter than it's ever been, and people are running away from that, and they're moving further south and north, and that's why we have this, part of this immigration problem is these people trying to escape a place where they can't grow food anymore, and all the other problems that they have there. So as the temperature builds there, it's also getting higher as we get warmer and warmer, and that's just something we're having to deal with. And one of the things we say in California is we'll look around sometimes, and it'll be a day where it's calm and hot and calm out of the blue after normal weather, and that we call earthquake weather. Is there really a correlation? I don't know. Probably not, I guess. But we have a thing we call earthquake weather. I digress. When I was teaching about earthquakes and other things you can do to prepare yourself for an emergency, there were several things that are real, kind of easy and calm to talk about that makes sense when you think about it. And if you think about it in advance and plan it, you're ready for the thing when it happens. And real common things um, can be anything from, well, pre-planning is important because then if an earthquake happens and bad stuff starts happening, you kind of have it in your mind, you have a mindset, you know what to do, and you have preset things happening. Things like keep an old pair of tennis shoes under your bed or a new pair of shoes, it doesn't matter, but everyone's got an old pair of tennis shoes that you don't use anymore, an old pair of shoes that you don't use anymore. Slide a pair under your bed. The biggest most common injury after an earthquake is people cut their feet on broken stuff. Glass breaks, windows break, objects that are on shelves fall off and break. The mirror above your bed might break. So, people, what happens is earthquakes don't always happen. In fact, I don't know. They don't always happen like in the middle of the day when you're out in the street. They happen in all kinds of weird times. And so if there's an earthquake and you're in bed and you're going to jump out of bed, put on those old shoes first, and you've already taken the first action by putting the shoes under your bed and realizing they're there. And then when there's an earthquake and you're in bed, slipping into those shoes before you do anything else, that is going to cut down the number one injury after an earthquake. It's real simple and real easy and pretty darn effective. Some other things you can do before a quake to be ready for an earthquake is to put some things in a go kit or a go bag. By now, I think pretty much everyone's heard of go bags or bug out kits, famously made famous by the preppers, who are sure that there's something really bad is going to happen that may or may not be Mother Nature based and may or may not be government based or whatever. But they, put everything in a bag that you'll need if you need to grab it and run out the door. Well, it's that way for natural emergencies too, like fires and earthquakes and not so natural emergencies, right? It's not a bad idea. And I like to talk about the things that we put into a go bag like that, because the things that you put in there are all you're going to have when you split, right? If you grab what's there and run out the door, that's what you're going to have with you. So the more forethought you put into it and the more planning and the more you actually build this bag, the better off you are. Now I'm going to say something, and that is, honestly, my go bag kind of sucks right now. And pretty much every teacher that I've taught with, when I've taught this emergency response training, when they're being candid, admits they could have a better go bag themselves. So it's easy to not do the right way, but we've done something, and that's what you do. You start by doing something. So, what do you put in this go bag? What kind of stuff do you think about? If you have any questions or comments that you'd like me to address during this stream, feel free. If you see this afterward and want to put something in here, I watch for comments later on, and I'll make comments back too to help out. So what do? We have this bag, right? What's this bag going to be? It doesn't matter. It can be a grocery bag. It could be a duffel bag. It could be a trash can on wheels. That's a really good one. You can put a lot of stuff in a trash can on wheels. Of course, keeping it by the door kind of sucks because everyone's like, what's that trash can on wheels doing there? I digress. So what do you put in this? What do you put in this go bag? If anyone has any comments or suggestions of what you think you should put in the go bag, shoot, put it down, make the comment. Here are some things that come to mind. Now, I'm going to digress for a second and say that there are, in the case of you don't have a go bag, or even if you do have a go bag, there's still something we call the 5 Ps to think about. And you can put some of these 5 Ps into your go bag, and some of them you can't, right? So the 5 Ps are going to be the people, you, yourself, your children, your family members, pets and pet supplies, papers, and that would include copies of insurance, health insurance, and home insurance, and flood insurance, and earthquake insurance. Maybe some of the documents that show you own your home or rent the home in case you need proof to get back into your neighborhood after the event. Wedding licenses, certificates. Now I said papers, right? And that's documents, and that could include photographs, which could be another P. Photos could be considered another P, but it really falls into the documents. So papers. What did I say? People, pets, papers, prescriptions, and medication. any, copies of your prescriptions, whether for your eyeglasses or your meds you take, or a pet, a service pet. If you have prescriptions, you should you should have copies of those available. Now you can make copies of these and put them in plastic bags and put them into your go bag, and that way, that's what I was talking about, being prepared. So the 5 Ps and the go bag do go together. And if you make copies of these documents and you put them in a plastic bag, now why would you put them in a plastic bag? Well, things get wet. It may be raining, there may be water, hydrants spraying water outside. You may become part of a relief effort to go back in and help your family or someone else, and things that may get wet, or maybe you're sweating a lot because you're really nervous and everything's getting wet and gross, or maybe some of the water you have in your go bag leaked and got everything wet for whatever reason. Put your papers and documents in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc baggie, and you've thought about that in advance and you've addressed that. So what I say, people, pets, papers, that include documents, photographs. P for priceless items. Now these may be, this may be emotional. Maybe your great grandparents' diamond rings or something. While they have a value, they're really priceless to you. And photographs and um, artwork, that may be that one piece of artwork that means something to you. If you think about this all in advance and you're ready, then when it's time to grab stuff, you're more set. And the more of it you can put into a go bag. Now maybe in the go bag you put a list of the things that you consider priceless, and then when you go to get the go bag, you whoop out your list and, excuse me while I whoop this out, and you whoop it out and you look at it, and that has the list of items. So what did I say? It's been a long time since I taught one of these classes, folks, so I'm winging this. I said the 5 Ps of things to think about when you're needing to evacuate after some kind of an emergency, or really for any reason you need to evacuate. When you're truly evacuating, people and all the people around you, the pets and the pet needs like food and medications and what have you, papers, which is prescriptions, and just all kinds of, just all the papers and documents that you might need copies of, priceless items. And there's a fifth one: people, pets, priceless items, papers, and um, poop, things to poop with. No, I'm just kidding. But it does bring to mind the fact that everyone poops, and that's one of the things we talk about in the um, in the training courses. Is everyone poops, and you got to be prepared for that. So having some plastic bags, some toilet paper, some uh, 55-gallon, 35-gallon trash bags, contractor bags, and some toilet paper, and a little shovel, one of those little folding shovels you get at Harbor Freight or any of the cheap places for like $7. Those would be part of a good kit. So I'm stalling while I took a quick look to see what the 5 Ps are and see what I missed, or if I already included one of the Ps into something. Um, So here's a list: 5 Ps: prescriptions, pets, personal items, priceless items. Okay, personal items is probably the thing I missed. And that's the stuff that you need to kind of go day to day. And that's the toilet paper. It includes any clothes or sturdy shoes, phone chargers, things that seem silly, but they're hard to get a hold of. Plastic utensils, a flashlight, and extra batteries. If you keep a flashlight in your go kit, keeping batteries in it may or may not be a good idea, because, as those of us have been around for a while know, batteries in a flashlight tend to leak, and then they don't work, and then there's goo in there, and you can't get the old batteries out. I tend to not keep flashlight batteries in my flashlight in the go kit. But there's an argument to be made for having the batteries in the flashlight. Have another set of batteries if that's the case. Um, and some cash. Cash is important. And when we talk about cash, most people's idea is you put, several 20s in one of these plastic baggies maybe, and you put it in there. And that's fine because 20s add up quickly, and you can put $200 worth of 20s in there. It's just 10 bills. Here's the thing about having only 20s, and this is very real. In the midst of an emergency, when everything's chaotic and you find yourself needing a bottle of water, and there's no power, power is iffy, and you go someplace to buy some water, and they're selling individual bottles of water. Now I've been there, okay? They're selling individual bottles of water. This is before the government finally steps in and the donations come in a week or two later, and there's water to be had all over, and you can just grab it and it's free, and everyone will give you, and people will give you a whole case of water if you drive into the Walmart parking lot where they're distributing it. But if you need a bottle of water, guess how much that bottle of water is going to cost if all you have is a $20 bill? There's no cash registers running. There's no electricity. The people are getting scummy. The scummiest people float to the top pretty quickly. And that bottle of water might cost you $20 because people aren't going to want to make change for you. Okay, so it's an extreme example, but you want to have some change with you too. You don't just want to have 20s if you can help it. If you have just 20s, fine. You got just 20s. You have some cash. Okay, so cash, prescription copies, an old pair of eyeglasses if you wear prescription glasses, and or a copy of the prescription. Um, these are things you can stash away in a bag, in a go bag somewhere under your bed, next to the old shoes I talked about. Remember, the number one injury after an earthquake is damage to people's feet from stepping on broken glass and other broken things. Other things to think about are your appliance services, your utilities, your gas and electricity, and that is, do you know how to shut off the gas and electricity to each appliance individually, and or to your apartment or your house, and or to the entire block? Because you can do that. You can learn where those things are, and all you have to do is go look for them. I'll cover that really quickly. Behind each appliance, if you have a gas appliance, there's a gas pipe that comes out of the wall or out of the floor, and it's behind the appliance usually, or off to the side a little bit. And you'll see a kind of a coiled, what we call a pigtail line coming. It's a gas line that comes off of the hard line attached to the wall, and it attaches to your appliance. Well, where that hard line comes off the wall, there's a valve there. And the valve, it's a square block, usually, or roundish. There's a one lever on there, and it only turns a quarter turn. It turns a quarter turn. When it's in line with the pipe, it's on, and when it's turned across the pipe, it's off. And that's all there is to turning off the gas behind your appliance. Now, if there's been an earthquake and you don't smell any gas, should you turn off the gas to your appliances? That's up to you. If it's been a pretty big earthquake and you think things might last a while, you might want to do that. If you smell gas, you have a decision to make. Do you turn off the gas, or do you run like hell and get out of the place? Well, that's a decision you're going to make. If you're not boogering up and like snotting and can't hardly see, then the gas isn't bad enough to kill you from breathing it, reaching in there and doing it. Unlike in the movies and TV where people, people just kind of lay down and they die with a little gas. Your mucus system, everything starts going crazy when you get really gassed out. So do you turn it off? That's up to you, but I just told you how to do it. Now, how about at your apartment or at your house? On the outside of your house or your apartment, there's going to be a gas meter or a bank of gas meters. Now, as an aside, after Hurricanes Rita and Katrina in the greater New Orleans area, and actually, let's say Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, which is several hours drive away, and I ended up in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, for a couple of weeks doing some relief work. And one of the things that struck me was that gas meters had been removed. I arrived there about a week after the hurricanes hit, and in that short period of time, maybe it was 4 days or something. In that short period of time, the gas company had sent out people, and they'd collected all the gas meters. Like, there weren't any gas meters. There were Here's what gas meters look like, by the way, for the most part. They're going to be one of these. You can just look up gas meter and see what they look like. The one in your house is going to probably look a lot like this, standing alone. And what they do is they just disconnect the pipe here, and they take away that meter part, and they cap off the valve, and then you don't have any gas. So if it's really big event, they're gonna take your gas meter away anyways. You might as well turn it off. Now, here is, I believe, a bank of gas meters. Now, if you're in an apartment somewhere, if you walk around the outside of your apartment building, you're going to see a whole bank of gas meters like this or something like it. And each one's going to have a number on it, and it's going to relate to your apartment. You're going to be able to tell which one is yours. And yeah, if you want to turn off your gas meter, fine, you can do that. And I can show you how to do it. The thing is, to remember and to know is that when you turn off your gas meter, you can't turn it back on by yourself. The gas company has to come out and turn it back on. So if you can imagine, there's a big event and some people's gas meters are bad, and a lot of people are going to need to have their gas checked or whatever. When you decide to turn off your gas meter, you're probably going to be days or weeks before someone can get around to coming back and turning it back on for you. So it's kind of a drastic decision to make, and it has consequences. Why? Because when you turn back on your gas meter, then the gas is going to start flowing into your house, and any appliances that have pilot lights are going to start leaking gas, and if there were any leaks that were caused during the event or in the interim while the gas has been turned off, when you turn the gas back on, they're going to start leaking. And so the gas company wants to be there to be able to have someone in the house to test and check all your devices and make sure the pilot lights are on and there aren't any leaks. And when 10,000 people turn off their gas meters, 10,000 people need the gas company to come out. So I recommend thinking twice before turning off your gas meter. Don't not do it for that reason if you need to turn it off, but don't just turn it off necessarily because you think you might be thinking that it'd be good to turn it off if 10,000 other people are going to be turning off theirs too. Something to think about. Now, as far as turning off your gas meters have a valve attached to them, which again is a simple 1/4 turn valve, just like the gas valves behind your stove or whatever you have that's gas. I'm looking for one now. Here we go. Okay. And these ones don't have a handle on them. It's right. Where am I? Oh, great. Here we go. This picture actually has a little blue line going to it. It's right here. And what you do is, it's just a square. I'm going to find some photos of gas shutoff valves so that you can see what they look like. And with this square, it doesn't have a lever, so it's not as obvious. You just put a wrench over that and you turn it a 1/4 turn so it's not in line with the pipe anymore. And it will shut off the gas meter. Let me find some photos of gas meter valves so I can give you the idea. Images. So the gas meter valves. Here's one. This is turned in the upright. It's in line. Let me just make sure you can see it. There we go. It's in line with the pipe. Now, if this were to turn 90 degrees, it would be across the pipe, and that shuts off the gas. Okay. They may not be exactly there. Here's one a little bit higher up. They're going to be right in that area somewhere alongside. Here's like a Reader's Digest type of a illustration. that shows you. They look very similar, and they look like that. And what do you use to open or close them with? Here's a indication showing what they look like open and closed. You can see in the open position, it's straight up and down. In the closed position, it's turned 90 degrees to the pipe. Somewhere on every single one of those gas meters, I showed you the apartment photo with all those gas meters. You find your own, you can turn that and turn it off if you need to. If you need to for any reason. Now, how do you turn it off? Let me find the gas meter valve tool. There's a special tool that you get for this that's kind of an emergency use tool. This is the most common one. Very inexpensive. It's a flat piece of stamped metal. This cutout over here slips right over that valve, and then you have the leverage of the handle to turn it. There are fancier valves like this one, which has that same square cutout in the top for turning off the meter. It also has this this impact head, so you can use it to break glass if you need to break glass in your apartment, you know, a glass door or glass window to get in and out or what have you. And it has at the bottom there's a fitting that fits over your water meter to turn it off too. So there are these different tools. Now, the tool that I find the easiest, fastest, easiest to use that actually comes in handy is called an adjustable wrench, also known as a crescent wrench. This adjustable wrench, you get those at Harbor Freight for, $2. I wouldn't use like a proto $25 wrench for this, right? I'd use a cheaper one from Harbor Freight. I'd set the adjustment to the right size so that if it rusts in place, it'll be rusted in the right place, and I'd hang it right there next to the meter on a wire. And then you have it available if you ever need it. Okay, any of those tools will do. That's how you turn on and off the gas. Now, gas main in street. Now, I didn't show you this because I'm never going to suggest that you should go around your neighborhood and look in the intersections, in the street intersections. Let's see if I can find a good one to show you rather than just a random. And where almost every street crosses another street, there are circular plates in the ground. And these circular plates are like a grid work. And if a certain city block, if someone were to go around and turn off all of the valves at all four corners of that city block in the circular plates in the ground, they would turn off the entire gas for that city block. And by going around to the next block and hitting the next two corners on that block, that will shut off that block also. I didn't ever tell you to do that, right? Shh, it's a secret. It's funny, I actually don't see, let's see, gas valves. On street corner. Okay. Let's take a quick look-see through here. I hate to do this to y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Through this platform, I can't really tell if anyone is watching live or not. So every now and then I just ask for anyone who's, anyone who wants to go ahead and leave a message. They kind of block these things from becoming real easy to find on the internet because they don't want people, just turning off valves. Gas valve in street, maybe? So this is what one looks like around Southern California. Here's a page showing several others. And underneath that flap, there's a meter. There's also water meters like that at the front of every one of your houses. Now that water meter is at the front of the house, where the water service comes in from the main service onto your property. The gas meter is attached to the side of the house or the garage. Most often, it's on the side of the garage somewhere. Okay, so there's the gas meter. There's the water meter. What else do you want to be ready for in the case of an earthquake? I told you about the cash and making sure that you have smaller denominations. Um, people being able to take an ATM or a credit card is iffy. If there's no electricity, they just can't do that really. I mean that's becoming less and less of an issue, I guess, with more and more of the portable card scanning devices, but it's still an issue in the real life. And there are people who take advantages of situations like this who make it an issue, who purposely won't have change and won't have, they're glad to take your $20 and sell you whatever it is that you need that's not worth $20. What else for your go bag? A pair of shoes for your go bag, a pair of glasses, the 5 Ps, a couple of tools, a couple of real generic tools can come in handy. Maybe one of these Swiss Army knife type devices. Has several items on it. Speaking of Swiss Army knife, I thought about a fork and a knife on a big one. Just having a few pieces of plastic cutlery, plastic dish, some paper towels. I mentioned toilet paper and plastic bags, and duct tape. Duct tape is kind of a godsend in emergency situations. You can duct tape all kinds of things packed together. Yeah, I think that covers most of the stuff I wanted to talk about when it comes to this morning's Great Shakeout Earthquake Preparedness. Earthquake! Did I fake everybody out? Yeah. If I'm the first person who's ever told you about the Great American Shakeout or your state shakeout, that's cool. Go to the web and look up your state shakeout, the Great Oklahoma Shakeout, the Great Missouri Shakeout, and be ready for next year. You can sign up online and they'll send you reminders. And then when the day comes and the time comes, here's what happens is this morning I received a notification via text, and here's the text. This is a drill. This is a drill. A great earthquake shakeout is underway. This is a drill. So it's clearly marked as a drill, but it also tells you should drop, cover, and hold, and think about your earthquakey stuff. This is a response from the UC Irvine University shakeout site that I'm coordinated with. And if they would also send notifications here about public outages and about public safety hazards, about there's a fire at the corner of this and this, or there's this intersection, this area is closed through traffic for this reason. Yeah. So if you sign up on your state's website, you'll get a notification, and when there is an earthquake, they'll notify you and remind you what to do too. So thanks for checking out the stream broadcast thing, and I'll look forward to seeing any comments or hearing from you guys. Hit subscribe if you want to see more from me. Thanks.